Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. The trio is back. We're rocking our pyramid of I was going to say power, but then it sounds really egotistical. I'm Gerry. Terry's here, Max is here, and it's, the usual crew. Right. So yeah, Chelsea reaction. Spoiler alert, so if you have the game on record, telling you right now, saying the score now, 2-0 for the good Blues. All right, the Blues that, are better. Tale of two halves. And that's kind of where I want to start, guys. Uninspiring first half from Everton. For American people out there who watched on NBC Sports, there was some kind of commentator, the color commentator, and he was awful. He was awful. It's like he had no idea how Everton had drawn with Chelsea the first time. So when Everton were like not pressing and pulling far back, he did nothing but talk about how it was a stupid idea. And finally, the play-by-play guy was like, well, this is what they did last time. He had not done his research. The jackass had not done his research, and it was just, even other Americans on Twitter said, this guy obviously hates us. It was terrible. So I just want to say, that was a shitty experience. But it was nice to have him just eat his own words later. That was beautiful. So, uninspiring first half. Guys, Terry, let's start with you because we do that. I think I just do that because Max was with me from way, way back, and Terry's only way back. So he's still sort of a guest, but not really. He's a regular. So, Terry, let's talk about the adjustments that Silva made throughout the game, but not subs. I'm talking more pressing type of adjustments. The different pressure and, second half, what was different. I'll start with Terry and then I'll go to Max, same question. I have a feeling this is going to be a builder thing throughout the three of us. We're all going to add something new to it. So, Terry, what do you think about Silva's adjustments?
Well, he definitely started off the exact same way that he did in the away game, but obviously Chelsea were never going to play the exact same way they played in the away game at their ground because they knew we'd done a really good job on them last time. So we weren't very good. We were, the intensity wasn't there. We weren't closing down properly. We weren't closing down in numbers. It just was meek. It was like afraid. It was timid. One of the commentators here said, I think it was Gary Neville, and he got it right. He said, Everton looked like a side just waiting to get beat. Like they don't seem to want to play a game with Chelsea. And it has to be said as well, like on top of that, Chelsea played, and even Ritu Sarri said, Chelsea played possibly their best half of football all season. They were absolutely brilliant in the first half, Chelsea, and to combine that with how poor and sort of nervous we looked, I'm amazed we got in at half time, being all square. I thought we should have been 2, maybe even 3 down, like just without the amount of chances they were having.
That's fair.
We got away with it though, and then in the second half, you could just tell him, right, that game plan that we worked on, that sort of spoiling the game for Chelsea game plan, that's not going to work. We're going to have to get about them. We're going to have to attack them. We're just going to have to go for it because we can't be any worse than we were in the first half. And in the first half, our front 3 players, I think they were like the 3 players who had the least amount of touches of the ball. Or maybe it was Bernard, Richarlison and Sigurdsson. Like Calvert-Lewin had a few, but our attacking players didn't get the ball very much. I think we were trying to build up too slowly and then came off the blocks in the second half and just looked like a different team. I think they'd had a bit of a telling off. Some of the players who weren't really in the game, aka Richarlison, come out with a fire lit underneath them and just took the game to Chelsea. And Chelsea, as bad as much improved as we were in the second half, went just the same velocity in the other direction. They just came out a different team and were poor. And their passing was wayward. Their positional sense was awful. Richarlison won't get a weaker opponent all season than he did with Marcos Alonso because he was everywhere. So Silva, people kick Silva when he gets things wrong, but he clearly recognised the issues with that he was facing at half time and adjusted it, and we ended up winning the game. So credit to Marco Silva. He did change things, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. Max, what do you got on this? You want to build?
Yeah, and let me just get my initial pessimism out the way. I genuinely thought we should have been 3-0 down in that first half. Hazard had one saved by Pickford and one off the post, and Higuain had another one saved by Pickford, which Michael Keane prevented from going over the line. And yeah, just echoing what Terry said, like Chelsea were absolutely fantastic on the ball, and we were absolutely awful off the ball. I mean, I know, yeah, you could if that's part of the game plan. And obviously it's paid off, but from where I was watching, obviously I sit just the family enclosure, the Gladys Street end. Like the positional awareness of Coleman picking up Hazard was really poor. Players like Hazard and Ross Barkley too were just pulling the strings, getting in behind and dancing through the defence at times. But yeah, as Terry said, and I think Seamus Coleman alluded to it when he was on media duties after the game, they seemed to get a bit of a telling off Silva at half time, and I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin set the tone straight away when he played that ball across the 6-yard box. It got good. It got good. It was a really good ball. It got Goodison, up on the edges of the seat, which it really should have been from the off. I was just to finish on the first half. I was concerned because it did look like the same kind of frantic defending that's seen us concede so many times toward the end of that Newcastle game, and that looked like where we were picking off. But yeah, it was a completely different second half. We pressed, we got in the faces, and we were, I know our goals came from the after phases of dead balls. So you've got the corner, and then you've got the penalty. But goals are goals, and I think Terry was the first one to mention this. If that was Marco Silva's biggest win as Everton manager. And fingers crossed now that is the catalyst for picking up 3 points against the other big teams that we've got left to play.
Yeah, it looked like the beginning, like you guys, just to reiterate, it looked like we were starting the way we did before in our previous match with Chelsea. But it looked like at first it was almost no press. It was like the pressing was restricted to one half, and that was our defensive half. Then it looked like we gradually would start to situationally press as that half progressed. It did look like we grew into the game a little bit more in the first half. It looked like they had a lot of threatening chances. It looked like, honestly, in the first 15, 20 minutes, it had very little hope.
Yeah.
But it did look like we gradually turned up some situational pressure. Second half, it looked like we decided, you know what? Let's actually, instead of trying to just not lose, let's actually go after them and try to actually get the win, try to actually score. We were pressing a lot harder, a lot higher, and additionally, our defense looked more compact. If you look at the beginning, that first half. Chelsea's runs, there were so many diagonal runs, and when one person went to one channel, someone else would fill where they were before, and one defender would track the first attacker, and then leaving that space open, and someone would fill. There was so much, that sorry ball, that channel filling, Yeah,
and we seemed so timid to put a foot in at times, which was really quite frustrating to see, because when you think back to other classic games in recent memory at Goodison against bigger sides, the example that I use is back in Martinez's first season when we beat Arsenal 3-0. Straight away from the kickoff, Stephen Naismith goes right into Mikel Arteta. I was wanting to see someone do the same on Ross Barkley, just to get Goodison rare and on the edge of the seat, as I said. So from that, we were edgy, and just we looked like we were, as Gary Neville said, that we didn't want to play with them. But second half, as I said, came out and set a completely different tone. An interesting stat that I found on Twitter: the front four in the first half lost the ball 31 times and only completed 18 passes. You juxtapose that completely in the second half, where Richarlison completed more tackles, sprints, and won the ball more than any other Everton player in a game this year. It was a complete change in the performance, and you want to see that. I know we've got the international break now, but you want to see that same intensity and desire carried forward in the games we've got left.
Yeah, the defense just looked so much more compact second half. They looked like they knew what to expect. Hazard, I can't believe I'm saying this, not really much of a factor second half. If you watched, often when Hazard would get the ball, Coleman would drop. He would drop and defend more inside. Richarlison would drop and pick up Hazard. You saw him, Richarlison on Hazard, often. Respect to Richarlison's defensive work. Don't say that often. Don't feel like I say that often. Maybe it's a part of his game that I overlook often. But he defended really well on Sunday. Really impressed with what he did there. So it was, I do think there was some inspiration coming from Silva in the locker room at the half, but I think there were some very intelligent tactical shifts made by him, and these are the kind of things that we look for, that we just crave. Put it in our veins, please. We just haven't seen a lot of that over the years from managers who have been really stubborn. That was just, man. I was writing down players that deserve credit for yesterday. It's a long list.
A lot of them. For me, Jordan Pickford was man of the match. As I said earlier, we would have been 3-0 down if it wasn't for him.
Pickford's the first name I wrote down. Although he's not, I don't know why, but I thought he had a great game. It was like a reaction.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Second half, obviously the emphasis switches and we play more forward thinking, attacking football. And that's where, the performances of Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison really improved. They were holding the ball up exceptionally well when we were flooding numbers forwards. And it's interesting to see, in particular, Calvert-Lewin, because, we saw that a much improved performance from him against Van Dijk in the Merseyside derby, where he didn't get the better of him, per se, but, he didn't stop battling to the final whistle.
Right.
He won more aerial duels than any other player on the pitch up against Antonio Rudiger. His performances against world-class centre-halves are getting better and better by each game, and expose a young player to game time. It's the rewards that you're going to see from it.
So I think I thought Pickford played astoundingly, but I still think DCL is my man of the match just because of the work rate. But Pickford was the first name I wrote down. That's kind of funny how that works. Who performed well for you, Terry? Who's the first ones that come to your mind? And if it's the same ones, that's allowed.
A lot of them. But for me, some of the standouts were Richarlison. Obviously, he literally. I think I tweeted it at half time. I tweeted before the game and then reiterated at half time. It's we need some performances from some of these players now. We need performances from Richarlison, from Gerry, from players like that. It's different reasons, but Richarlison's, we've spent a lot of money on him. We put a lot of investments of time and a lot of hopes into him. He's still a young player. He's still got a lot, to learn and stuff. I'm not saying he needs to be winning those games by himself constantly, but it's we need these games for him to stand up and be counted. We need him to have an impact on the games. We've got too many players who don't have an impact on the big games. No big game players, you would think that, and then he stepped up. He just really stepped up. So Richarlison looked like the player that we know he can be, and I was absolutely made up to see how well he was playing when he came back out and when he got his goal. Gerry Mina also, a lot of fans had started to veer, and they still will. It's not like it suddenly stops with yesterday, but they veer into, he's not really hitting the heights that we thought he would, or the expectation we've put on him, he hasn't fulfilled that, so therefore sell him. He was veering into that bad buy sort of area with some fans, and I thought that was ridiculous because it's his first season in the Premier League. He's had a lot of injuries. That's why Zuma has had a lot of playing time. Zuma was originally bought to cover for Mina and Keane, but he's had to play a lot more games than he expected because Mina's not always been fit, and he's had a little bit of trouble in games adapting because obviously he's still quite rash for a Premier League defender. But he's got something. I will literally defend Gerry Mina till the cows come home. I think he's got something. He's unpolished. It's not like he's the finished article, but Richarlison, Mina, those two stood out for me. Much like Calvert-Lewin, Idrissa Gueye, every game just works his arse off, and it's like he's man of the match every week. He's just absolutely he's just so invaluable to us, and if we do end up losing him for PSG, we can't really complain that it's a club of that size are coming for him. I'm going to have a job replacing him as well because he's so crucial to our team. He just tackles anything that moves.
Obvious additional positive vibes for Coleman. A couple of spots. He played an off pass here or there, errant pass, but honestly, he's doing all right. I don't have a lot of criticism for Seamus. Andre Gomez he looked like a guy in charge. When he was, I thought he was going to get a yellow way before he did.
I was going to say, I genuinely think that game was the best we've ever seen Idrissa Gueye and Andre Gomez play together. Like the way they shouldered some real defensive responsibility throughout the entire of the game, and it really it told. I know, and it was nice to see Andre Gomez having a go from distance every now and again, which obviously I think one of his shots forced the corner for there. I think, but to see those players take the defensive responsibility against, make no mistake about it, world class opposition. I know they had I know they had an off game, but they are world class opposition, and as I say, just hope we continue that going forward.
One thing I want to bring up as well, it's not specific to this game, but it was featured in this game. It was the good job that Marco Silva and the team itself has done in the last couple of weeks on facing down the issue of the Goodison Park crowd. They've done it the right way. They've turned around and put half of it on the crowd, going, we like it when you back us, when you give us the big atmosphere, it makes us play better. But they've also taken a lot of responsibility themselves. After the Chelsea game, they're like, but we also need to give you something to get behind. And this is something that's been a problem for a couple of years. Even I think it was Nikola Vlasic said when he said this season, didn't he, that last season the players are terrified of the crowd because of the reaction if they're not playing well. And it's been a problem for a couple of managers now. And I'm glad that Silva has not just tried to ignore it and hope it goes away. And he's actually, tried to get hold of the bull by the horns and said, listen, we need you to support us. We need you to give us that 12th man effect, which a lot of half of the supporters who are of that same mind have gone, yeah, you're right. And they've got all banners and it looks amazing and they get, the atmosphere is going. But then the other half who were like, no, you need to get us off our feet. You need to make us want to support you. They've also, met them in the middle as well and had combative performances, the old school sort of like siege football at Goodison Park. It's like you need both. And if you can, long term, if you can cure that sort of disconnect between the team and the Goodison crowd, it's so beneficial to it. So many of David Moyes' best victories and Martinez in his first year were just forced over the line by the crowd. The Gladys Street used to suck the ball in the net, like when we needed a goal, and that's been gone for ages. And other managers have ignored it and tried to pretend it wasn't there. They've basically decided this season we need to address this. We need to get it sorted, and hopefully it sticks because Liverpool and Chelsea have now both come to Goodison Park, and we've got 4 points out of them. And I think the crowd's played a big part in that.
Yeah, in respect to the fan group, is it the Originals?
Yeah,
who've been put a lot of work into trying to get some, continue to generate more atmosphere, which is half of it. Exactly what Terry's saying. Moyes said the same thing you said, Terry. I think he was on TV this weekend talking about the Goodison atmosphere. It's two-sided, just like everything in life. It's not as complicated. It's more complicated. It's not just the team has to play, the fans have to be better. It's a little bit of both. You know what I mean?
Balance.
Yeah, balance. Yeah, Max.
And they've addressed it. They've started ignoring it and trying to just hope it corrects itself. And the managers commented on it, and it's hopefully improving. And yeah, the Originals, that big banner, and Everton 1938, I think as well. I think they're another group. I think they were the ones responsible for the number 9's banner. But the Originals have done stuff as well. All of those groups like that, more of that. There's never too much of that for me. I love all that. That's what you look abroad and you see fans doing it, and you just think, oh, that's amazing. We've got it in us to be some of the best fans in the league, but obviously we're not the type of fans who tell everyone that we are, because but we are, and we've been missing something for a few years, and I do get it. There's been a lot of frustration around the club, and it's seeped into the crowd, but doesn't always have to be like that. These are a lot of new players, a younger team. We can hopefully build that connection between team, manager, and supporters again. It will take us so much further than if we try and do it without us.
Really quick, guys, before we finish, keep Sigurdsson on penalties.
No.
So 6 this year and missed half of them.
But
all
who?
3 of them.
Yeah, and there's no rebounds next year, is that? You can't score rebounds off penalties next year. I think isn't that a rule that's being introduced?
No, I haven't heard that. Is that true?
A few people.
I would sort of hate that if that's the case.
I think I don't know his exact penalty statistics, but I feel like quite a few of his converted penalties have been from the eventual rebound, haven't they? So you know what? Stick Dominic Calvert-Lewin on them. Put your centre forward on them. We haven't got Leighton Baines anymore, so just put your centre forward on them.
Just pick a play. For me, it's not even about technique with a penalty; it's about nerve. And clearly, it's just you just pick a side, hit it hard, and you've got to just deal with it. You just find someone in training and just go, listen, who wants to do it? Could be Andre Gomez, could be Luca Dean.
Luca Dean is who I was thinking, just because he takes those kicks outside the box so often, But I don't know. But I think, when the actual penalty itself,
the short run up, it tells the keeper what you're doing with your body position, and it's too easy to read.
Yeah, so it was really, and to be honest with you, it just wasn't. If you're gonna go for a corner, actually go for the damn corner. I don't know. It's just like when you kick it when you leave it that far to the middle, you're just assuming you're sending them the wrong way. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but he's Gylfi Sigurdsson. He can put it in the damn corner if he wants to.
Yeah, give him his credit though. He put it. He sent it the other way, didn't he, with the rebound pretty well. So
yeah,
I mean, I'll give him a little credit for that, but he's still Gylfi damn Sigurdsson.
I mean, it's 12 yards out of penalty, isn't it? I feel like if he was 24 yards out, he'd have a better chance. It's like where the back is.
That's not a bad call.
It's like, why does he use?
Oh wow!
I don't know.
He's still not scored a free kick for us, has he?
Has he not?
No.
A direct free kick. He's hit some absolute raspers but must open play. Oh, that's Everton syndrome. That you got absolutely class out free kicks, and then you put a blue shirt on, all of a sudden you stop being able to do it. Yeah. I expect Luca Dean to be struck by that next season as well. You watch.
Oh, I hope
not. We just need more opportunities. We'll get it. We just haven't been attacking very much lately, I think. So, all right. So, anything else, guys? Chelsea reaction? Feeling good? Yeah.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Yes, warm and fuzzy. So that's it for our Chelsea reaction. Good things. So if you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We'd sincerely appreciate it. If you want more Terry, he's on the Liverpool Echo fan jury, so keep an eye on his Twitter. He'll tell you when he'll be there. Also, Max's Twitter will tell you when he's going to be places. To be more specific, he tends to be on the Toffee Blues website, often dropping analysis bombs all over the place. So please look for these guys. They do good things. All right, we're going to move on, talk about James McCarthy. Bye.